Despite missing about a month with a left wrist injury, Colorado's Cody Williams has been one of the most impressive freshmen in the country, and his combination of tools on the wing quickly put him in the conversation towards the top of the draft. Now, he's still only played about 9 games to this point, including just 3 against Power 6 conference opponents, so it's not the most concrete sample, but he's produced at a very high level, putting up about 14, 3, and 2 and making a big impact as a slasher and all-around playmaker with legitimate wing size. He is still raw and has some questions to answer as he continues on in Pac-12 play, but he's got a great chance to further establish himself as one of the premier prospects in this class. Now, the part of Cody's game that has continued to stand out most is his ability to get to the bucket as a slasher, starting from a number of different spots on the floor and going either direction. He's a smooth and wiry mover with long strides and has a solid handle for his size and at this stage, and he's excelled in transition, whether it's going coast to coast with the ball or running lanes.
Williams crossing over, attacking! Here's Williams, he's transition.
And then in more half-court settings, while there are still some questions in this, I've liked what he's done both in navigating pick and rolls and attacking from the wing. He's done a good job of setting up and rejecting screens. He's been good using push crosses and change of pace and navigated tight spaces pretty well. And then against shifted defenses and closeouts, he's attacked quickly when he's seen a gap or an opportunity to make a play. He's functioned pretty well as an off-ball threat without the shot and being a live body as a mover. And in all this, he's gotten to the line at a pretty good rate too. But the thing I've been most impressed by is how well he's finished at the rim despite his frame, and given he's not the most explosive, he's currently shooting around 70% at the bucket with nearly half of his overall attempts coming there, and the amount of touch that he's shown in traffic going both directions and at times using the floater has all been good to see. Now, given his frame and again not being super quick or explosive, he's had to take a lot of tough finishing and driving angles and ended up with some of these going away from the bucket, which again he has converted at a pretty high rate, but it is something I think could still cause some issues both in the rest of this season and in the early parts of his NBA career. But when he is able to add to his frame and turn some of these 1 foot off balance looks or extendeds into bump euros, get more space off of his body using some of those spins and just play off of 2 feet a little more, the amount of touch and size that he has should only make him even more dangerous and close.
Of course he is. Here's Williams putting it on the deck. The floater is good. Beautiful move. Here's Williams, runner. Good.
He's been an irritant in this one for sure.
Cody Williams. Lampkin gets doubled, and that's a beautiful feed to Williams.
Back-to-back staggers.
Cody Williams. I don't know if he's coaching at the Kings. Is he still at the Kings? Here's a lob.
The other part of his game that stood out is his ability to pass and make plays for others in a few ways. Now, he's at just about 2 assists a game. The assist percentage isn't particularly high, but it's definitely been there so far, and I would expect it to shine even more the rest of the way. He's probably been most impressive in the open floor, grabbing it off the glass or getting an outlet and making a hit ahead to a teammate, and they've actually smoked a few of these opportunities. But he's frequently made the right play here, and it's a definite positive for this team specifically to have a guy that size who can also bring it up the floor. In the half court, he's taken a few different roles for them within this offense. Some of that has included bringing the ball up the floor and just getting them into actions. Sometimes it is running a pick and roll and making a basic read there or making a solid decision off of some of his slashing. Now, he's not necessarily wowing you in either of these spots yet, but he's been good enough, and when you compare him to some of the other top wings in this class, I think I prefer him over the majority as a decision maker right now, and he's also made on-time extra passes or post entries within the flow of their offense. Now, there's plenty he'll need to improve on as a scorer and ball handler and also as a passer before we start the sort of point guard talks or thinking you're just throwing him in there as one of your lead creators from the jump. But what he's shown here speaks to his feel for the game and general unselfishness.
The Silva drive, scores. CU ball movement has been.
Defensively, he's been pretty solid overall, and I've been impressed by his feel and engagement here to go along with the tools and versatility that he has. Now, he's not the quickest laterally, but he's done a good job of staying connected and using his length to make up for whatever he might lack as a mover, especially when he spent time on guards like Isaiah Stevens, Jalen Cone, Bronny, or even some of the quicker wings out there. I will say he has been a bit upright at times and has been in recovery a lot at the point of attack, also picked up some fouls that way, but through these games he's been mostly positive in this spot while given some challenging assignments.
Work here. Just 2 of 11 to start this game from the field is Cal.
His first 2 years here at Colorado.
5 in the shot clock. May has to put it up over Simpson. It was blocked.
Off the baller and help, he's made few mistakes with good knowledge of his responsibilities and positioning, and has had some standout rotations and a few help side contests. Now ideally you'd like to see him be a bit more active in passing lanes, getting deflections, and creating events, but since he does make pretty minimal mistakes in help and rotationally for a freshman, I don't necessarily mind it right now. I know some use it as a measurement for a defensive feel or just as a general indicator for defense translating to the NBA, but given the sample size right now and from what I've seen so far, I can't say that I'd use that here. I still think there's a lot to learn on this end with him for the rest of the season and how he's able to handle physicality, where he continues to match up, and then what he does when the inevitable bad offensive nights come around. So we'll see what he does the rest of the way.
Now Tyson goes to the basket and scores. But Anderson, has some, and there's a foul. So
He was 4-4 in the first half as a team. They were 6 of 6.
Yes. So just last week, Kobe Johnson passing the left.
The biggest question in Cody's game right now is his ability and willingness to shoot the 3-ball. He's at 40% on the year, but he's taken just 15 total. And mechanically, my first impressions on the hand placement, footwork, and shot prep haven't been great. But we'll save more of those details for later in the year. And as it was coming into the season, this is still a pretty significant swing factor, and being able to add more value here off the ball and draw closeouts is key for most players, but especially for Williams in unlocking some of the slashing he's excelled at on the wing. Of course, there's still plenty of time left in the year to swing the opinion on his shot long term. We've seen this happen many times over the years, but right now it's still in question.
Get back, bumps into De Silva, and then into the corner. Williams for it.
His ability to take, let alone make pull-ups is mostly non-existent right now, both from 3 and in the mid-range. This was something he really struggled with on every level I've watched him play to this point. The pickups, footwork, confidence just haven't really been there. And though it is different in importance to like a lead guard prospect, I do think it's a big question mark when we mention him in the highest parts of the draft. Now the floater has kind of served as his substitute for some of this, but there's only so much you can do with that. While I'm not necessarily expecting a ton of this immediately, and he's more of a long-term pitch anyways, I want to see what else he shows, because both the pull-up and catch and shoot 3 will be vital in him maximizing his tools. Now aside from those two big things, it's kind of a mixture of smaller pieces along with the defense and finishing specifics that we already talked about. Obviously he's not going to progress physically overnight, so I don't really care about that in the context of this season, but it'll obviously be one of the biggest things for him in the long run. And there have been a few times the turnovers and ball security has been a potential issue, so I want to see where that goes, but that's pretty much where we're at right now.
Post position and getting them scoring, that's a new dimension for Colorado. Pretty easy.
In terms of future matchups, I think the biggest one left, at least until tournament time, is against Arizona. They have some good guards, another wing like Pelle Larsson that he'll spend time against on both ends, and then an obvious presence in the paint, so that's at the top of the list. And then teams like Oregon and Stanford and Washington, since they've been running more zone lately, and I want to see what he does there. And overall, just seeing how he responds to the scouting and game planning that all these teams throw at him. Now, I'd guess 99% of y'all know this already, but for those of you who don't, Cody is the younger brother of OKC's Jalen Williams, or J-Dub, who is one of the NBA's most prominent budding stars in my opinion. And while I wouldn't say there's a ton of similarities in their games besides just being toolsy, good feel wings, I do think the fact that J-Dub was a bit of a late bloomer and made such significant improvements at Santa Clara and into the league, that Cody just being around and seeing what it takes means something, even though every individual is different at the end of the day. Right now, I think the safe or conservative projection is top 10, with the ceiling being as high as the top 3 or 4 in this class. Now, there are still some obvious things that we pointed out that we'll be looking at over the rest of the season. And right now, I do think he may take a minute to pop in the NBA, but the case for a young, versatile wing prospect who can get a bucket and make plays in a few ways is clear, and he should go fairly high in this class because of it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to click that like button. It really helps out the channel. Subscribe for more great content, and comment down below some of your thoughts on Cody Williams' game and what you've seen from him so far. I appreciate y'all for watching. As always, I'm Keandre. This is HoopIntellect. Until next time, I'm out.